Marine sea monsters, giant squid devouring entire ships, mermaids luring sailors onto rocks. These are the myths and legends that have plagued our maritime history. But now, there is a new threat to sailors: orcas. Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. Over the last few years, there has been some unusual marine behavior occurring off the coast of Spain. Also known as killer whales, orcas have been ramming boats in the Strait of Gibraltar, a waterway linking the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. These attacks off the coast of Spain and Morocco have been occurring since 2020, but these attacks have become increasingly violent. One attack on July 31, 2022, happened 11 kilometers off the Portuguese coast. The orcas appeared out of nowhere, sweeping in silently beneath the waves before torpedoing into the sailing yacht. They rammed the hull so violently and repetitively that they caused structural damage. Water began seeping in. All of a sudden, the freak encounter turned into an emergency. The crew knew they were in trouble and sent out a mayday call. They abandoned ship moments before the yacht sank into the depths. But this wasn't a freak encounter. The orcas had sought them out. They had detected the vibrations of their boat from far away and homed in, targeting the frightened crew. More worryingly, this wasn't an isolated incident. On November 1, 2022, a pod of orcas set their sights on another sailing yacht, this time 22 kilometers off the coast of Portugal. They circled the boat, their dorsal fins cutting through the surface of the ocean. At first, it looked like a swarm of sharks enticed by fresh blood in the water, about to begin a feeding frenzy. But orcas don't hunt humans. Most fatalities have occurred in captivity, and rarely have encounters in the wild turned violent. Word of the orca encounters began to spread amongst sailors, but with the Gibraltar Strait being one of the busiest waterways in the entire world, and over 300 vessels passing through every day, approximately one every 5 minutes, not everyone was targeted. Nobody thought it would happen to them until it did. On May 4, 2023, the crew of the leisure yacht Champagne heard a loud thud. It sounded as though they had struck something in the sea off the Iberian Peninsula. 3 orcas charging at the boat again and again. The 2 smaller orcas grabbed the rudder in their powerful jaws. They grappled with it, trying to tear it apart and rip it from the hull. The larger orca rammed the side of the yacht. It was alarmingly powerful, and soon it was clear that Champagne was sustaining significant damage. It was time to call the Coast Guard, who rushed to their position. They offloaded onto the rescue boat and towed Champagne behind them, but the damage was too great, and before getting the stricken vessel to shore, she was lost to the waves. Other incidents occurred throughout the year, but it was 6 months before another sinking. The victim was a Polish sailing yacht called the Grazie Mama, which was attacked by the orcas and went down in November 2023. The attacks didn't seem to be slowing down. Between 2020 and 2024, 700 interactions with sailors and orcas have been recorded. The most recent in the string of unusual attacks occurred in May 2024. At 9 a.m. on Sunday, May 12th, a 50-foot yacht called Albaron Cognac was attacked by a number of orcas. The strong blows shook the vessel. The 2 crew members heard the devastating blows and realized something was drastically wrong. The orcas rammed into the hull, cracking it and causing water to pour in. Then they disabled the rudder. With no way of steering the boat toward land for repairs, and with water now rushing in, the sailors had no choice but to call for help. They contacted the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center in Tarifa, Spain, and the distress call was relayed to all ships in the area. An hour later, an oil tanker diverted to their position and rescued the 2 crew members on board. Unfortunately, the boat continued to take on water and sank shortly after. No one knows how many orcas were involved this time, but it was an eerie experience and yet another close call. But what's causing these marine mammals to behave in this way? Some believe they're getting revenge for the injury of White Gladys, an orca that was struck by a boat a few years ago. They believe that the small population of closely knit individuals known to scientists as Gladys were attacking the boats for payback. Despite being highly intelligent animals capable of grieving for the loss of a family member, giving each individual a unique name, and communicating on a level not common within the animal kingdom, scientists believe there is another explanation for this destructive behavior. Although it's possible these animals are capable of revengeful acts, they could see the boats as competition for prey, such as bluefin tuna. Another reason for bumping into the boats could be that orcas are simply being playful. They seem to like the feeling of the rudder. Some seem to get frustrated when sailing boats have their propellers turned off and may bump the boats out of frustration because they like having the propeller in their face. They are inquisitive creatures and learn their behavior from one another. The subpopulation living in and around the Iberian Peninsula and the Gibraltar Strait are critically endangered, with fewer than 50 individuals. But it seems that their destructive behavior was spreading. Another attack on a marine vessel by wild orcas occurred 2,000 miles away from Gibraltar in the North Sea between Scotland and Norway. This time it was a Dutch sailor, Wim Rutten, a 72-year-old who was sailing east from the Shetland Islands. He had trailed a single fishing line at the back of his yacht to fish for mackerel when an orca approached. Wim watched as the enormous dolphin swam right up to the boat, seemingly searching for the keel underneath. It had appeared from nowhere and began ramming the stern of the boat before diving beneath it and hitting it several times. Out in the open ocean, Wim feared for his life. One large crack in the hull of his 7-ton aluminum yacht, and he could be sent to the bottom of the ocean before help could arrive. The orca got so close that Wim could hear its loud, raspy breathing. Luckily, he made it home safely, but was shaken by the experience. Had the behavior been transferred from the orca population on the Iberian Peninsula? Perhaps some mobile orcas from the southern pod had ventured northwards and performed the behavior in front of the others, which had learned to do the same. Or it could simply have been a juvenile orca that was intrigued by the fishing line. Nobody knows for sure. But the attacks and interactions between Spain and Morocco are still going on. Recently, competitors in the around-the-world sailing competition, the Ocean Race, were targeted by orcas near the Gibraltar Strait. At first, the sailing team was excited to see the pod approaching. It was an incredible moment amongst nature. But soon, their admiration for the animals turned to fear when they began ramming the underside of the yacht. It could have ended their race, or worse. But after pulling in the sails and slowing the boat down, the orcas soon stopped and moved on. While some scientists say the behavior is merely a fad and could disappear as quickly as it has arrived, the authorities have taken action. They have satellite tagged 6 members from the Iberian Peninsula pod so they can track their movements. They are also warning sailors in the area to remain vigilant and to report any orca activity they may encounter on their voyages. But scientists are concerned that darting the 6 orcas with satellite tags may only aggravate the animals further. Luckily, there have been no serious injuries following these strange interactions, but about 20% of the vessels that have been attacked have been so badly damaged that they couldn't continue their journeys. Surely it's just a matter of time before this so-called fad gets out of control.